How's it going, everyone? Got more to talk about on the PlayStation 5 Pro. A lot of discussion, a lot of talk around this console, and certainly, as far as our discussion goes and the videos I've uploaded about the PS5 Pro, I don't think I have ever seen this level of a mixed reaction and just a war zone in my comment section with any discussion I've had. Generally speaking, I feel like people and the majority of consumers are on the same playing field and they're aligned in their thinking. The PS5 Pro has a lot of people divisive, and I see a lot of people disagreeing with me. I also think there's an element of people honestly not comprehending a lot of the points that I am making, and they just think I am kind of having my Sony bootlicker phase and defending the console, even though I have been one that has been incredibly critical about things like PlayStation Plus, things like the DualSense controller going up, Sony's first-party output, and that point in the past has been one of the elements that has gotten me the most ire from our more PlayStation hardcore audiences, that I am so critical over PlayStation, but I am not as critical over the PS5 Pro. And now this brings me to the main discussion point in this video, and that is that every PlayStation 5 Pro enhanced game will not be running at 60 frames per second. Yes, there's a lot of reason to get upset about that. I understand. So, if you guys are unaware, the PlayStation 5 Pro is going to feature a beefier GPU. The GPU power is going to be increased. However, the CPU remains the same, and that is going to create a limiting factor for a lot of games. I don't know the ins and outs of game development, but to put it as simple as I can, there are going to be games that are just going to not be able to run at 4K 60 FPS, and never, you guys, I don't think there should ever be an expectation on a console that it is going to be able to run games at 4K 60 FPS unless we get to the next generation consoles, the PS6. The upscaling software is really good, PSSR in this case, and you're talking about beefy horsepower. But even for a high-end PC, or high-end is obviously a subjective term, people deem anything over $1,000 to be high-end, even at, let's say, a $1,000, a $1,200 PC, every game suddenly being able to be ran at 4K 60 FPS, you cannot just set that level of expectation. I still find it hard to believe a game like Dogma 2 and a game upcoming like a Grand Theft Auto 6 is gonna be able to run at 60 FPS. Now, to be fair, the GTA 6 comment was pretty much confirmed by Richard Ledbetter of Digital Foundry, and he noted that the PlayStation 5 Pro uses the same CPU as the PS5, and it would be extremely challenging to hit 60 FPS if the base PS5 version is targeting 30 FPS. This isn't a GPU problem, it is a CPU problem. And I said that leading into the release of the PlayStation 5, when Sony was throwing out these terminologies and they were talking 8K resolution or even 4K 60 FPS. Guys, you gotta understand how demanding 4K 60 FPS is, even for a $500 console, for a $700 console, so on and so forth. And that is just not a realistic expectation to have out of every game. What I do think is a problem is how they promoted the PS5 Pro. We don't exactly know, there's been no terminology attached to what does PS5 Pro Enhanced mean, so there's gonna be a line of thinking where people are gonna think that it's gonna be 4K 60 FPS across the board. That is not gonna be the case. That is gonna be the case for some games. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth seems to be a game that is really taking advantage of the PS5 Pro. The unfortunate thing is, a lot of the games that they showcased are games that already look good on the PS5. Spider-Man 2, Ratchet Rift Apart, Last of Us Part 2, which is a PS4 game, using that as a promotional vehicle for this console just seems insane. Those aren't the games that people really want to see utilized. I want to see something lengthy with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I want to see something lengthy with Final Fantasy XVI, Dragon's Dogma 2. Hogwarts Legacy is a game that they showcased, and most of us realized that game was not running at 60 FPS, and Mark Cerny was very careful with his wording with that game, saying it was PS5 Pro Enhanced, but it was still clearly running at either 30, I've heard 40 frames per second, but it was not 60 frames per second. And you just can't have that level of expectation, even if it is for a $700 console. If you build a $1,000, $1,200 PC, and you're talking to somebody that has a PC with an RTX 3080 in it, that's not the highest end GPU in the world right now, but you're gonna run into problems with even something like a 3080 when you're talking about 4K and, you know, highest settings and 60 FPS, ray tracing especially, that's just not feasible. And we can talk hours and hours about the price point, so on and so forth, and PC versus console at a $700. There's positives and negatives to both of them. I would not be building a PC at $700, but if you build a PC at $1,200 or $1,400, there's a lot of value out of it. You're not going to be paying to play online. Everybody's situation is going to be different, and everybody's going to try to portray a narrative that is aligning with what their allegiance is tied to, whether it be PC or PlayStation. There's positives and negatives to both of them. And like I said, I would not be trying to build a $700, $800 PC if you're trying to get PS5 Pro level performance. I would be looking at, you know, a $1,200, $1,400 PC if you're trying to drop bread. But generally speaking, with PC, the money comes back on the back end, cheaper games, and you're talking about free online, which is huge. But as far as the PlayStation 5 Pro goes, I think everybody also needs to realize this. Yes, there's a lot of vitriol attached to this console. However, I would argue a lot of the people that I see completely crapping on the PlayStation 5 Pro based on the price point, and you're totally fair to have your opinion on the price tag. I am not saying it's not expensive. It absolutely is expensive. What I am saying is there's a lot of vitriol online, and yes, you as an individual have to make that decision that you are going to buy the console or you're not going to buy the console. What I would argue, and what I am very positive that Sony has realized, is there are more than enough people that are going to be buying the PlayStation 5 Pro, where they are incentivized to price it as they are going to price it. And yes, you could say, oh, those people are a part of the problem, but the market is deciding. That's how capitalism works. The market is going to decide on the PlayStation 5 Pro, and I am very confident that, I'm not saying it's going to get scalped to the high heavens, but I am fairly confident that it's going to sell fairly well, and it's going to sell like the PS4 Pro. The PS4 Pro install base made up like 15% of the overall PS4 install base. That's what I expect with the PS5 Pro. And yes, the PS5 Pro, that sticker shock is absolutely real. The price shock is absolutely real. $700 is orders of magnitude more than $400. I just think that audience that a console like this is targeting is going to be spending the money regardless. There's going to be some people where the $700 is going to push them away, and that's totally fair. But I ultimately do think the market is going to dictate whether or not the PS5 Pro is a success. And while I believe there are a lot of people that are going to turn away and not buy the console because of the aforementioned reason, I also believe there's enough people. It might not be the majority, but it doesn't need to be the majority when it comes to the PS5 Pro, will buy the console regardless. And even if that means that some games are going to run at 30 FPS, the reality is this is, even at $700, a mid-gen refresh. It's not true next generation. And what is going to be interesting more than anything is if this console is successful, guys, I would really be getting ready to prepare to pay this level of price for the PlayStation 6. Now, it's going to be different with the PlayStation 6 than it is with the PS5 Pro, because ultimately the PS6 has to target the larger majority of the gaming consumer. It can't be this high-end optional product, and that's what the PS5 Pro is. You have a PS5, you like it, great. You can stick to that. The PS5 Pro is for those with the disposable income, or those so invested into PlayStation that they want to get every ounce of performance possible. I don't believe a lot of people are going to be picking up the PS5 Pro that don't own a PS5. I think if you have that level of disposable income, I think if you are invested that much into PlayStation, you already have a PlayStation 5 and you're just buying this anyway because that's how far you are invested into PlayStation. And I think even if games are going to be running at 30 FPS, people are still gonna look past that and buy it because they want the top of the line hardware, that audience at least. And you know, if there's enough games that are improved, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth being improved because that game looks like a pile of dog crap on the PlayStation 5, at least in performance mode, that's a big deal. Is it $700 a big deal? No, but that's a big deal. Other games being improved and the upcoming games being improved, that to some people is going to be a big enough deal, and that is an individual decision for everybody to make. Some people are going to deem it is, some people are going to deem it isn't. And if it isn't to a grand scale of people, where the PS5 Pro doesn't sell well, then great, the market's going to correct it, and Sony's going to realize as well. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I just think there's enough people out there that are going to spend the $700. But I'm rambling. Mainly wanted to talk about the 60 versus 30 FPS element. I also just think, I really think Sony fumbled by not not announcing an upcoming major title like a Tsushima 2 running on the PS5 Pro. It's just optically, the situation looks so bad at a surface level when you have no first-party software and you're releasing console, but I'm a broken record as far as that's concerned. That's gonna do it for me. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comments section down below. Sound off there. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.